Welcome again, and let's go on to actually identify the legal issue by reference to an exam question. I'm now pulling up the exam question for you to have a look at. Well, here's a tip coming up. And that is, make sure you read the question requirement before you read the story, the facts. The reason for that is because the examiner quite often tells you in the question requirement, or at least gives a big hint, of what the law in issue is. So if you read the requirement first, you then know why you're reading the scenario. If you read the scenario first, you don't really know why you're reading it until you get to the question requirement. Then you have to go back and read it again, which is a waste of time. So let's focus at the moment on reading the question requirements. That's the part that the examiner puts in bold to draw your attention to it. So this question requirement, it says, analyse the above situation from the point of view of contract law. Contract law. So at least we know this question is about contract law, but we need to drill down further. And it says, and advise Alan whether Kath can require Alan to transfer his part of the house to her. Whether Kath can require Alan to transfer his part of the house to her. Well, you should be thinking, he can only do that if there is a binding contract between them. So this question then is something to do with formation of a contract. That means it could be about one or more of the three essential elements for the formation of a contract. It could be about agreement, i.e. offer and acceptance. Or it could be about consideration. Or it could be about intention to create legal relations. So we now need to read the scenario to find out which of the three the question is about. So read the scenario and see if you can work out which of the three the question is about. Now, as you were reading the scenario, you should be thinking, well, is there any argument about whether there's agreement? And the answer is no. It says, as part of a written agreement between them, Alan agreed. So there's definitely no issues about offer and acceptance, in other words, agreement. What about consideration? Has Kath given consideration? Well, clearly she has. She did what was required, and that was to pay off the mortgage. So there's no issues about consideration. So if nothing else, by a process of elimination, the law in issue here is intention to create legal relations. And actually, if you'd have remembered two cases about husband and wife, there was Balfour and Balfour. That was about the husband who, prior to a business trip abroad, promised to pay the wife some money to support her and the family while he was away. And you remember he never did pay her, and what was even worse, he never returned, having found a nicer wife abroad. The other one, of course, was Merit and Merit, which is also very like this scenario. It was where a husband and wife were separated, and the husband agreed to transfer the matrimonial home to the wife. But he never did, and she wanted to force him to do so. So if you'd have covered those cases, they would have also made it quite certain in your own mind that the legal issue here is intention to create legal relations. So let's now write out step number one. Now, step number one, identifying the legal issue, we need to tie it in to the question requirement. So let's actually have another look at the question requirement. And reminding ourselves that we're advising Alan. Alan, whether Kath can require him to transfer his part of the house to her. So let's now write it out. Okay, so using the question requirement, Alan is advised that Kath can require him to transfer the house to her only if a binding contract exists between them. And there are three essential elements for a binding contract. And the one in issue here is intention to create legal relations. So all we've done here in this bit of writing is just put into words what we were analysing as we went through the scenario. The next video you'll see is when we'll be looking at step 2, the relevant law.